I'm Glenn Dyer, and you are watching a Dyer-Situation. Today is the day, people. And, the day of the Doctor, as some might say. The 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, that episode's gonna be playing today. I have tickets to see it in the theater in 3D. I was really excited when I bought them, but after a while I've been thinking, and I have absolutely no reason to be excited. But I should probably explain. To those of you who don't know, am a huge Doctor Who fan. Like, huge one. I've seen at least one episode out of all the Doctors. I've seen every single episode of Doctor Who from the time the 5th Doctor regenerates, Peter Davison regenerates, all the way to the present, and snippets from before those times too. And I am a fan of the show, however, my fandom has been dwindling. Let me explain. Eventually I'm gonna do a Chadwick Jones on the recent Doctor Who stuff. Eventually. This isn't gonna happen for a while, don't get your hopes up. I'm gonna do a Chadwick Jones on that, and then I'll go into detail of like my fandom with Doctor Who and stuff, but I'm gonna give you a brief rundown as of now by going through all 11 of the Doctors and explaining how I feel about them. And just very briefly though, until we get to the newer seasons, when I'll just go season by season. I count newer seasons as the ones after 2005, just so you know, after the relaunch. Oh, and the movie. I'll count the movie. So here he goes. Boring, but loved it. 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 Tolerated it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Hated it. Hated it. My God, I hate it so much! And that's how I think of the modern Doctor Who. To me, basically, ever since Stephen Moffat has taken over, the show has gone from good to shit. Now, of course, some of you may disagree with me, and that is perfectly fine. I'm not putting you down or anything. I'm just trying to display what I think. And what I think is that Stephen Moffat's paranoid delusions of what time travel would infer has ruined the show's good and strong points. What I mean by that is, instead of focusing on making a good, nice story, and having nice characters, having a very strong and understandable plot thread, what Moffat likes to do now is focus more on how confusing time travel would be, and just throws in as many twists as possible. They might not make sense, they might come the hell out of nowhere. He doesn't really care. He wants to hurt his audience, essentially. Although he probably sees it differently. And to me, it's just awful. Some of you might be wondering, well, why are you still watching it? Because I guess I'm a masochist. I still have hope that it will turn better. I am like one of those commonly abused housewives who, when her friends tell her, well, why don't you just divorce him? She says, no, it's my fault. It's my fault that it's so bad. It's my fault that it keeps hurting me. you know, that's kind of me. Like, I always wonder, like, is it just me? Is it just me that doesn't like the show, and I'm just imagining all these flaws in it, but it's not. I, it's so stupid now. In fact, the thing that convinced me to do this whole vlog in the first place is because I saw something. It was, it's little mini special. It's called the Night of the Doctor, I believe. Something like that. And basically it's a little, it's like a 5-minute segment, with the 8th Doctor, Paul McGannon. And, you know, that's a pretty cool idea. And just basically showing him regenerating into John Hurt. Sorry. The name of the Doctor left me rather bewildered. But it is meant to show that, and I thought that was a neat little thing to do. So I watch it, and you know, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, this is nice, I guess. But as I watch on, I realize, like, in that little segment, basically, I'll give you the rundown. This is all online, so I don't care if I'm spoiling anything. You can pause the video right now, go and watch it, and then listen to this. Plain. Basically, there's this ship in flying through space and stuff, and it's about to crash. And Paul McGannon lands the TARDIS on there, and is like, "Oh, hello, lady who's the only person on this ship for some reason. I guess she ejected other people, I'm going to assume. Come on board my spaceship and I'll save you." And she's like, "Okay, wait, you're a Time Lord. I'm not going on that ship with you." And he's like, "Hey, I'm not leaving without you, lady." And she's like, "Yeah, well, whatever. You Time Lords are awful. I don't care." And then the ship crashes and she dies, and he's dying, I guess. So these old witch ladies, I don't know if they've ever been mentioned before, revive him, I guess. Was that lady on the ship meant to be a human? Or, I don't know. They've made it very clear that humans were not involved in the Time War, or even knew about it. Are they just being lazy, like back in the 60s, where they couldn't afford the good costumes, so they just made everyone look like humans? I don't know. But then the witch ladies revive them, and they're like, "Oh, you can regenerate now, but you get to choose what you can regenerate into." And then he thinks about that woman, and he's like, "I'd like to be a warrior, so I could have saved her." And here's where my problem is. Like, he drinks some shit and turns into John Hurt, I guess. But, here's my problem with that. It seems to me that Moffat is under the, idea that the Doctor is a person that will just... that whenever he meets an attractive woman, any kind of attractive woman, he will immediately use her as his, moral compass. Will always use her, no matter which Doctor. And it's given me the idea that Moffat has never even seen the rest of the show. And he just kind of goes about it. Like, literally, the Doctor knew that woman for less than a minute before she died, and then decides that he wants to change his entire personality because of her. Like, that is not like the Doctor. Any Doctor, really, except for maybe Matt Smith's one. But because Moffat made him like that. I read a synopsis online, like, what would have happened if David Tennant hadn't quit when Moffat took over. And Moffat told everyone the storylines would be basically the same. I'm paraphrasing here. Would be almost exactly the same. But David Tennant would definitely have regenerated in the end. And that tells me that he does not know these characters at all. Which is probably the best, because that makes it probably the best that he's never brought back a character from the past into the show, because, oh my god, what would he do? He has no idea what they're like. He couldn't write for them. It just tells me he doesn't know these characters at all, and that's a real problem when you're the head writer. And I just get the feeling that this 50th anniversary special, this grand design of amazing awesomeness that is this show has been around for 50 freaking years, is going to be ruined by Moffat saying, hell, you know what would be cool if we got a Silurian guy with a Dalek head to start shooting people randomly. And it'll have something to do with time stuff, I guess. Like, it's instead of being meaningful, it's going to be schlock, like usual. And he's gonna throw in some twist. He's been hinting that he'll give out the name of the Doctor, which I still stand by the idea that his name is meaningless, and we don't need to know that. He's been hinting he's gonna give out the name and stuff, and I'm guessing at the end of this, he's not. There is not gonna be any name, nothing is going to have happened, nothing will have changed, just more confusing bullshit, more questions than answers, and this is how it's going to proceed forever. And that just worries me. I feel that with the coming of the 50th anniversary, we are slowly, very slowly, getting closer to the second destruction of Doctor Who. It was on hiatus for well over a decade, I believe, after it got canceled the first time, and I get the feeling that if it got canceled a second time, this time it might be permanent. And, you know, what can you do? Other than, I think, Moffat should either step down or allow others to put in their input. Because there is one episode, technically two, that I actually liked. It was the one with the almost people, as they call them, the people that are made out of like the clay goopy stuff, that do like mining work for people, and then a power failure causes them to assume personality. Though that episode is great. It feels almost like a Twilight Zone thing. Like, great story, great. They improved upon the characters. I didn't feel like punching Rory and Amy in the face anymore. The Doctor was great. It had good messages too about not generalizing and stereotyping people. It was fun. I actually, me and Alex were watching it together, and I was like, holy crap, you know, maybe like the show's going to improve now. Maybe they finally realized what the problem was, and now they're going to improve. But no, the next episode involves people taking their faces off and like being like, I will remove your head. Just, God, stupid. And it just went right back to stupid. And I'm thinking that the only reason those episodes happened was because Moffat was on a vacation or something and didn't get a chance to ruin the script. There was one episode recently where the Doctor and what's her face, Clara, go off to this planet. Go off to this planet to this. God, what was it for? Oh yeah, it's like a planet to see like the oldest oldest constructed thing in the universe or something, like the place that they consider the birthplace of all life. And the first half of it, right, is basically they find that Clara finds this little girl who has to do the singing ceremony, and she's afraid she'll get one of the notes wrong and stuff. And I was thinking, oh great, this is gonna lead to some sort of big stupid monster doing something horrible. And then, but no, it didn't do that. Like, in fact, Clara just convinces her that it's gonna be okay, and everything's alright, and she goes along with it, and, you know, I was like, oh, okay, really throwing me for a loop here, alright. So I'm like, okay, so something's gonna go horribly, horribly wrong before the ceremony, and she's not gonna be able to sing. Nope, she starts singing fine. And, you know, the universe is gathering with her, and everybody's singing, and everybody's happy, and, you know, this is halfway through the episode. I'm like, wow, you think they might actually be making an episode that's touching and fun, and they've maybe realized, hey, we don't need to add a big stupid monster to this, or something confusing that adds more questions to the ever-increasing list, and the top of which is not, what is the name of the goddamn doctor? You guys realize that it's called Doctor Who because he doesn't have a real name. He's called the Doctor, right? The Doctor is an appointed title that he gave himself back at the Academy. This has been explained. So basically, his name is meaningless. Like, completely meaningless. But they're building it up like it's this big important thing. If a Time Lord's name is that fucking important, you know? What was I on? Oh yeah, the plan stuff. Seeming touching, seeming like it's going to just end nicely. And then it sucks. She fails the last note, I guess, and then gets sucked into this big prism, and there's this big, evil, ugly guy who's like, roar! I want to eat people's faces. And I'm like, oh god. And then the fucking sun starts attacking, and I'm just like, Jesus, I'm just wondering, the guy who's writing the script, like, he had this nice, perfectly toned script, and Moffat was just, like, having a coffee break, and then he was like, whoa, man, not once do you have somebody say the title of the show, and there is no big stupid monster, and the first part is just meaningful. This is stupid. We can't have this. We can't have a meaningful episode. We can't have an episode that leaves you feeling good and feeling contempt. No. We need to build up this thing that doesn't need building up at all because it's gonna end in disappointment anyway. Because we've built it up so far that we can't possibly answer it in any satisfactory manner. Oh god. So he just goes and writes in all these things. He even writes in a big dumb speech at the end where the Doctor gives up all of his memories to save the world, I guess. Even though he has all his memories at the end, so who the fuck knows what the hell happened? Remember? God, I sound like such an ass, don't I? But remember when, in a season, things actually built up to stuff. My favorite one being the one with the Master at the end. It was a David Tennant one, building up to the series finale with the Master and stuff. There is stuff in every episode that actually builds up to the end. The power of words from that one with the witches. The you are not alone from what the Face of Bo says. Like, you actually feel like, oh my god, that was totally building up to something. That was so cool. But in this one, it's just meaningless shit. They're not going to bring up that he gave up all his memories. They're not going to bring up that leaf that was somehow the most important leaf in the universe or something. It's not gonna be mentioned again, even though they're acting like it's a big thing. And that is so bad. Like, so bad. I mean, even back in the old days when they didn't really have season-long themes for stuff, they still acknowledged when something like that happened. Like, they'd mention it later on in a different episode or something like that. It meant something. Somebody took it somewhere. But no, this is just gonna be ignored. And also, that was total bullshit that it killed itself by eating possible futures or something, because that is infinite, whereas regular memories are finite. And I'm just like, if that were true, then you could hand him a rock and you could say, you know, there was a slight possibility that this rock could have killed the president, and then it would have died. Like, that's the thing. That's so stupid. And also, she considers it the most important leaf in human history because what was it? Oh yeah, it caused her parents to meet or something, and this makes it important? Somehow? This makes no sense! This show doesn't make any sense. It never makes sense anymore. And I'm gonna watch it later today. 50th anniversary. And you know what? I know exactly what's gonna happen already. I don't even need to see it. I know it's gonna happen. I'm gonna watch it. And it's gonna seem nice at first. I'm gonna think, hey, you know, maybe this is gonna be good. Maybe they're just gonna play it nicely. They're gonna have this cool crossover and stuff, and they're gonna have nice story and nice characters. And then about halfway through, they're gonna crush my dreams and make me dread humanity. And David Tennant's gonna get his head shoved into the ass of a donkey, and they're gonna say, "You're never coming back to this show, David. This is the new Doctor right here." And because that's what they like to do. They do subtle things like that. It's about the one thing they can do subtle on this show. If you notice, there is little things where they're dissing the 10th Doctor because everyone likes him so much. God. I'm sorry if you haven't seen the show before. This is not a very good introduction to the show. I'll mention that in the description. This is mainly talking to the people who watch it a lot and are interested in it and would know all the things I'm talking about. And I paid $20 for tickets, and tickets that are gonna be useless. No. Well, the good part is, my expectations are gonna be so low, it's not gonna be very hard to meet them. But then again, they always find a way. They always find a way to to go beneath my expectations. Somehow. I always think it's not possible, but they always do. It always happens every single time. It's so sad. But anyway, it's starting to get to the point where I have to go off there, and yeah. But don't worry, Doctor Who isn't really that bad a person. It's just that I always mess up, and it has to hurt me for it. You know, yeah. Doctor Who's nice. It's fine. It doesn't mean to do it. It's just that I'm always the problem here. Yeah, you can really see the comparison there, can't you? Anyway, see you in a bit. Sorry if there's a bunch of background noise. It seems to be raining. Well, anyway, down to the point. It was not as bad as I thought it would be. In fact, I can't believe I'm about to say this, it was good, and I suggest you see it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect by far. There are quite a few dumb moments. There's a lot of Stephen Moffat cliches things in there, like plot points that are raised and never talked about later. New things coming up that determine the plot, which were never introduced at any other time in the show. However, there was a lot of heart in it, I could tell. From what I can see, if Moffat didn't understand these characters, at least he cared for them. The other Doctor's cameo, Tennant is in there. This isn't much of a spoiler. Tennant is in there, and of course John Hurt. I'm a little okay with that now. John Hurt was not nearly as terrible as I thought that idea would be. He's a fine actor, but it just came out of left field, and that's why I was really opposed to the idea. But he's a fine actor, and quite honestly, they give really good reason as to why he exists, so it's not as bad as I thought it might be. Sorry about that, that's my cat. Yeah. Hi, Tosh. Oh. Okay, Tasha. Okay, stop interrupting my vlog. Okay. Who's a good kitty? Anyway. Oh, and, as for everyone else, everyone else couldn't make it, except for one of them, but he's not playing the Doctor, and I'm not going to reveal who it is. They couldn't make it, but they made it very tasteful. They used old clips and wax figures and stuff. It's not like Dimensions in Time, where they took Hartnell and Troughton and turned them into disembodied creepy heads or something. That was very nice. I am thankful that they did that. And quite honestly, for once, they actually came up with something that is such a great explanation for why the Doctors never remember stuff in, like, their crossovers. For instance, like, when they have a meeting of the Doctors, how come the latest one doesn't know everything that's gonna go on since he experienced it several times? They explain it so well in this one that it actually explains all of their crossovers. Something else I have to bring up, a new story idea was presented, but for the first time, I think, in ever since Moffat has been on board, it is a good idea, okay? Like, seriously, a good idea. A new spin on the show, a new direction it's going. For once, it is a good idea, okay? Like, I'm not gonna reveal the idea at all, but basically, so much better. The first one the first one he did was he was trying to figure out these cracks in time that randomly appear because the TARDIS exploded because it was blown up by River Song for no particular reason. That's another thing I like about this. No River Song! No River Song in this entire thing at all. Thank you so much. Yeah, and then the second one was trying to figure out why she blew it up, and then he dies, I guess, but sort of not. It's really a cheat, that one. And then the third one was figuring out Clara. Like, all these things I don't give a shit about, but the one that they say now, the new direction is going, the new thing the Doctor is trying to do, I like it, okay? I love where it's going, and I haven't been able to say that for such a long time. It's unbelievable. And Yeah, what else can I say? Like, it is actually quite watchable. As I think I mentioned before, I saw it in 3D in the theaters. So basically, I got the enjoyment of not only seeing this marvelous thing, but seeing it in a form that hurts my eyes. I was really close to the screen, so it was off in the corner. Oh, and I also paid for the delightful joy of having the young child behind me say, "Daddy, is that the Doctor Who man?" a few times. But, yeah, honestly, go watch it. The 50th anniversary. Even if you're not a fan of where the show's going, I honestly enjoyed it, and I've hated where it's been going for the last couple years. There's a lot of stupid stuff in there. There's a lot of big dumb monsters and all that for those of you who like that sort of thing. And, yeah, honestly, it's entertaining. One of the things is that it does have parts in it that apply to all of the different fan bases that actually like Doctor Who. The people who like the classic ones, the people that like the, what's the term? Memality of it, I suppose. Like, they're like, ooh, bow ties and stuff are cool now. I like this show. I don't agree with those people in the least, but, you know, if that's your thing, that's fine. And, you know, people like me who've hated where it's going, people like some other friends of mine who love where it's going, you know, it appeals to everyone, and to Moffat, I have to give him credit for that, because it's hard to pull that off, and it was pulled off. I don't know if it's entirely him, but since he's the main writer, I feel I should give him credit for that. And for all the other good parts in it. So yeah. What are you gonna do? I hope that my rants have not led to some sort of internet controversy or something. And until next time, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you have been watching A Dire Situation.